So Las Vegas Raiders fans knew going in, you're not going to have a great draft here. You're just not going to have a great draft because you don't have a ton of picks. Don't watch the first round of the draft. Watch Devontae Adams highlights. Go back and watch Fresno State highlights of Carr throwing to Adams. That's what you did with this draft is you got Devontae Adams. So if you draft no one, you had a good draft. The Raiders didn't draft no one. They got some players here. This was actually, again, one of the better drafts if you're just simply paying attention to what they had and then who they got. So again, because they didn't have as many picks, they weren't going to have the draft that the Packers were going to have. The Packers had an extra first and an extra second. So obviously they're going to get more players. But the Raiders did really good for themselves. So the first guy on this list is Dylan Parham out of Memphis, who is a fascinating player. So he's someone who I saw some boards having as like, a second round grade on at certain points. He goes at pick 90. That's what you see on your screen is the column on the left. That is when they got drafted. The number next to their name is where they were on the consensus big board. Parham, a guy who last year wasn't spectacular. It wasn't horrible last year, but just wasn't spectacular. The year before, though, he put up a really good season and had much better numbers in that year if you look at like advanced statistics. And so that's kind of what you're banking on is that maybe there was a reason he wasn't great last year and he could, become a quality. I don't know. Is he, I think it's fair to say, is he going to be a guard? Is he going to be a tackle? I don't know. But probably my guess would be guard. My guess is you have him play guard and you give Alex Leatherwood another shot at tackle, which listen, Alex Leatherwood was not worth a first round pick last year. He also wasn't a completely garbage prospect like he played in his rookie year. I think you have to give him another shot, maybe, and put Parham at guard. But either way, you need more offensive linemen. This is an offensive lineman who I like. So there you go. Zamir White, again, running back at 122 when you don't have as many draft picks. Don't know if I love this so much, but you're ready to be competitive now. And what I always say is if you're not ready to be competitive, don't even dream of drafting a running back. If you are ready to be competitive, okay, take a running back. Josh Jacobs has had injury concerns and his fifth-year option was not picked up. So probably the way that you should go about getting running backs, I think, is don't draft one at pick 24, even though I love Josh Jacobs. That wasn't a good draft pick just given positional value. Draft one every 3 years with the 122nd pick, you'll do all right. So that's kind of why I don't hate this so much. The only reason I would be a little bit lower on it is just because I don't think that they needed to go running back here, given the fact that they had only 6 draft picks. Maybe it would have made more sense to not go running back. But again, I do get the logic behind it. You're probably going to get a good player at 122. He was exactly on his consensus big board ranking as he was with where he got drafted, which is always fun. At 126 now, so only 4 picks later, they get Neil Farrell Jr., a guy who I was really high on. I really like Neil. I had a second round grade on him. So I'm surprised that some people really didn't like him. He was a good prospect, I thought. If you're a fan of Pro Football Focus, he was the 12th rated interior defensive lineman in the country last year, 445 snaps, big run defending guy. I mean, with all this like hype that Jordan Davis got, Neil Farrell was a very similar prospect and he's going, 100 and over 100 picks later than Davis did. So I think he's someone who could be an absolute value pick here. So he's another guy who I'm very fascinated with. And they got some more running back. They got some more defensive line depth with Matthew Butler out of Tennessee. Another guy who I think could be a fascinating one. Butler is a guy who, again, his advanced statistics were solid. Seems like he should have gone higher than 150 or 175. The 129 on the consensus board, probably closer to accurate there. So again, you're getting good value. And it's weird because kind of, according to the consensus board, Farrell Jr. and Matthew Butler could be flipped. But I actually like doing it this way better because I like Farrell as the better prospect. And Butler is still a better prospect than what they got at 175. Also, Thayer Munford, another interesting guy. He's a guard out of Ohio State, 6'6", 328 pounds. One of those guys who didn't have the best season last year, but was awesome in 2020. So the hope is like, okay, what happened there that is concerning, and it is fair to dock him for that, but there is reason to believe he could be solid. So because of that, I'm interested in him as an offensive lineman, someone who, again, has played tackle as well. At least, if nothing else, could be depth. but maybe something better. So finally, Britton Brown, who was the 546th prospect here on the big board. But again, you're picking someone at 250. Who knows what's going to happen? Running back out of UCLA, probably going to be a special teams guy is what I'm going to assume. So not freaking out too much about that one. There's just not that much value at 250, but there's also not too much value at 238. And they got a player who I kind of like there. So as a whole, like, listen, the Raiders did not have a ton of capital. They used that capital well. And that is the goal of the draft. The goal of the draft isn't to get the best players. Well, I mean, it is to get the best players, but the goal of the draft isn't like, you don't look at it and say, okay, well, this team got better players than that team, so this team did better, because teams are going to have different draft capital. That's kind of how I view it. You got this, and then if you look at all these guys and throw on Davante Adams, I'd say that's a pretty good draft. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the Raiders? And hey, listen, I'm sure there's some scouts that are still in the building with the Raiders who now don't have to worry about Mike Mayock and John Gruden making them draft Alex Leatherwood in round 1, right? Because they did really well in later rounds. I'm not sure how many people are still in the building there, but I'm sure there's some. So maybe there's reason to believe these guys could be good. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What were your thoughts on the Raiders? Interesting draft. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.